All right. Well, Shivani, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
For sure. So, yeah, getting this thing started, would you be able to give us a little bit about who you are and what you got going on with the YouTube channel?
Yeah, so I'm in my final year of med school. I have a few months left and then I graduate, which is very exciting, but also simultaneously very scary.
Hmm.
I applied to psychiatry, so I'll find out in a few months if and where I got in, but hopefully within the next 4 years, I'll be a psychiatrist. But while I was in medical school, I also became a Reiki master, so I became very into energy healing. I also experienced like a whole Kundalini awakening, which is I think very fascinating to experience that while being in medical school. It's like a mind
Mm.
fuck, if I could say that. So it was a wild experience, but I think that it also has awakened kind of like a purpose inside of me where I really want to serve as somebody who can bridge two different worlds together and help kind of facilitate this consciousness conversation in the world of medicine specifically, but also by large. And so started a YouTube channel, and yeah, basically you found me and I ended up here.
And here we are.
Yeah.
So, how did this Kundalini awakening come about? Right? Were you doing anything, or was it just some kind of grace that came in?
Yeah, so I had a spontaneous one. I know a lot of people experience them through like breath work or consistent meditation, things like that. For me, it happened though mainly through chronic illness. So I think trauma is also a
Wow.
really big reason why people wake up.
Hmm.
And so I was dealing with a lot of chronic illness in my early 20s, and just I reached a point of kind of like complete nervous system burnout, and the way that I was living was very out of alignment with myself and with sort of like my feminine energy. And I was just very discombobulated, dysregulated. And I wasn't processing a lot of the trauma that I had hidden underneath. And I believe that that was showing up as chronic illness. And it's interesting because I'm sure we'll get into this a little bit more, but I think chronic illness is so fascinating because what we get wrong in the medical industry is that, it's a problem that we have to get rid of. And I was experiencing chronic illness and nothing was helping me. I went to so many doctors, so many like dietitians and all these different practitioners, so many supplements, lots of money. And nothing was working. And I kind of just had this like massive insight one day where I realized that the reason why my illness was not going away was because the relationship I had to my body was very not in alignment in the first place. So I saw my symptoms as a problem to get rid of, as opposed to like communication from my body that's trying to show me something deeper about myself to help me, reconnect with my inner flow. And I had that realization, and I kind of just like inspired this massive insight inside of me where I realized like it's the attachment to thought that causes suffering, and the attachment to, this problem that I'm fixating on that's causing suffering. And I think that like over the time of that chronic illness, it kind of just shot down my ego enough to where that insight that came in just, had this like massive opening within myself energetically. And it just kind of like shot me into a whole Kundalini awakening. So that was kind of how it happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That seems to be the blueprint for a lot of people is exhaustion or burnout, and that leads people onto the spiritual path,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I think it's I honestly think it's kind of unavoidable at some point in your life because we live in a world where the systems kind of force you to engage with yourself in a way that's actually not true to human nature.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just like, I think it's just a matter of when that happens. But yeah, I agree. I think that everybody experiences it. And I feel like we're in a time where everything's getting so accelerated and intense that we're seeing it more and more.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the craziness of the world is leading us into the peace of our
Mhm.
nature,
Yeah.
ideally.
Mhm.
Now, what do you do to take care of yourself? How do I phrase this? I guess, what are your practices and modalities?
Mhm. Yeah, that's how I found Reiki because I just found touch and also just working with the energy within my body because Kundalini awakening, obviously, it's very energetic. experience. And I've always had like a very sensitive body. So I think that physical connection to my body was really important for me. And that was how I got into Reiki and wanting to develop that sort of like energy practice and hygiene for myself. I also do meditation, but honestly, I don't follow a certain philosophy. Like I know a lot of people study certain philosophies and they live through those practices. And for me, I think my philosophy is really just getting as in tune with my intuition and my body as I possibly can in the moment. So developing that skill of like interoception, of being able to focus your awareness inward and create meaning out of like the sensations and the communication that your body is giving you in the moment. But part of that involves like really becoming comfortable within the unknown because
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's like the ultimate, like, that's the ultimate end goal, is to end the seeking type of energy, which is really hard in general, but it's also really hard in a world where, like intellectualism is kind of seen as like the highest form of consciousness. So it's very hard to transcend the mind in that sense. But my philosophy is to get as comfortable within the unknown as I possibly can. And if my intuition and my insight is giving me a certain piece of information, but that's all I get for the moment, and I don't understand like where, when, how, and the logic behind it, I have to be okay with that. And okay with kind of being given like the crumbs along the path.
Mm. What did you call it? Interoception?
Interoception, yeah. It's like that's like a term in psychology that people use for like the skill of being able to focus your awareness into your body, like not just emotionally, but like physical sensation. But I think that a lot of people have lost that, including myself at one point. Like I lost that too because there's just so much like dopamine hits coming from every angle in this world that it's really easy to get lost in, the illusion in the external world. So kind of bridging that into like psychiatry and psychology is like learning how to build that skill and also teaching people how to build that skill.
Mm. Well said. Yeah, you are in the trenches of the mind, of intellectualism.
Yeah, I know. I
It's a
know.
fascinating path.
It was very, it was like a really funny cosmic joke because when it happened, we were in our psychiatry unit and module. And I was like, oh my God, I'm losing my mind. I'm going crazy. I need to be institutionalized. Like it was such a mind game. But I think I got really lucky because I was born Indian and born Hindu. So I grew up around like meditation, breathwork, yoga, all that kind of stuff. And I kind of knew that this is like I knew generally that this is sort of like a path and things that happen, but I didn't know what, this process was actually like. So I was lucky because I think that that saved me in a sense that I didn't completely lose myself and that I was like, okay, this is something, something spiritual that I need to kind of look within and find the tools. But I can understand that so many people don't have that experience. And I honestly, I do think that so many people that show up to a psychiatrist and need mental health care are really just going through this like spiritual transformation. But that's part of the problem is that we don't really have the language for that in medicine just yet. So it's like a huge thing that we need to kind of bridge the gap with.
Mm. Well, I think that's very much needed, is to bring the sort of old world, the archaic of spirituality, and then into the new world. And I think that creates as like a new being, like we're creating this new human being, because the mind in the Western mind in psychiatry, as you probably understand, isn't bad.
Hmm.
It's just lacking something.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I would say
totally.
it's the somatic understanding, right, of
Right.
the body and how important it is to take care of the body.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of like my ultimate philosophy too, is like the field of it's kind of an emerging field called neurosomatics, which is basically
Uh,
just like applied neurology to understanding the nervous system and how we store trauma, experiences, emotions, and how that can also like present itself in a somatic way. And essentially like coming back to the body is like the path to your authentic self and to your self actualization. But I agree, I think it is like a journey of creating this like new human being because it's not about that's part of what I'm very passionate about is it's not about I believe in science, I believe in medical education, I believe that there is a benefit to systems and to structure, but when you're so stuck in that there's no space to actually process like the intelligence that comes from your body, and you've gotten to a place where you've treated the body as if it's kind of like this machine, and that like this is your symptom, this is the problem, let's figure out how to get rid of it, as opposed to no, you're a human being having a multidimensional experience. This symptom is, there's a root underneath that. There's some form of your unconscious that's trying to make itself conscious through this experience. And when you treat the body in that way, it's like a whole other, like that's like a whole other depth and level of healing that you get. But both can coexist because, people, I think there's a lot of ungrounded people within the spiritual world too. And that's when you find people kind of in those, addictions with like plant medicines, and also just kind of losing themselves to different realms and dimensions, but that's not
Yeah.
really going to do anything either. So I agree. It's kind of like we're birthing this new like human being that's coming through. So it's cool to see how that's happening.
Hmm. It's all about the balance. That's what we're doing. Bringing a little balance to the force.
Oh my gosh, we need it. We're so unbalanced right now.
Yeah. It's so interesting the times that we live in, right? That we can even do this, that we have all the access of the knowledge of the past, the wisdom of the
Mhm,
past, and bridging that, bringing that into the Western mind and the Western culture.
mhm,
It's like unparalleled, even just like maybe 30, 40 years ago, it wasn't possible. I mean, you would have to literally go to India to
mhm,
get the knowledge, or have somebody from India come over here
mhm.
to be able to get that understanding. Now we have Google.
Yeah.
We got ChatGPT.
Yeah, it's crazy. I feel like even in the last few years, so much has changed. Like you can learn about these things on social media. Um, and I think that's kind of why, like, I know we're in very dark times right now, and it's like easy to lose yourself. But I also have a lot of hope in that because I see it as like we're really just waking up from this illusion, and it feels like we're kind of all in this weird like isolation mode of like not being able to exist in the world as we used to. But I think that it's so beneficial because so many of us are like waking up and going inward and kind of reconnecting to that force. So it is terrifying, but I think at the same time there's like a massive, revolution happening like underneath all of that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The revolution will not be televised.
Yep. No,
Mhm.
it won't.
But it might be on YouTube.
It might. Yeah.
So yeah, you called it, well, I called it a force, but you also echoed that and said it was a force. Do you feel that like you're propelled by some kind of force that's connected to your intuition?
Mhm. Yeah, I for sure do, and I think that's kind of like what I was saying before with my philosophy is I just kind of surrender myself to wherever I feel called to going. Carl Jung is a really interesting person. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he was a
A little
psychiatrist.
bit.
Yeah, he was
Hmm.
a Swiss psychiatrist, and he a lot of his teachings are where like modern day psychology come from, but he draws a lot from like Hinduism, from all these different religions. But he's so fascinating because he like integrates psychology with spirit. And his books, he talks a lot about his own journeys. Like he's done like active imagination where he goes into his own sort of what you're saying, like this inner force that's kind of guiding him into the depths. He calls it like the spirit of the depths, and it's like the
Ooh.
spirit that, yeah, it's the spirit that kind of takes him into this forest, which is really just like the depths of his unconsciousness. And within the unconscious, there's a lot of this symbolism that's not just personal, but it's shared, it's the collective unconscious. So these symbols are things that like you and I would share as well. And that symbolism and that sort of like storytelling, he goes into it into his work. But I love the spirit of the depths concept because I really relate to that. And it's sort of this idea of just following where that force is taking you, even if it's like towards self-destruction, which is really
Hmm.
terrifying. Um, but yeah, I feel that call very deeply. And I feel like I always had, and part of why I feel that I experienced chronic illness was because I was avoiding that call. Um,
Uh-huh.
yeah, and I was trying to externalize my life, but my life was trying to point me in a different direction. Um, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. It's just in different ways, but there's always this
Hmm.
force that's, guiding you and taking you to a certain direction. And I do think physical illness a lot of times is a manifestation of just not following that.
Yeah. The force is always with us,
Yes, it is.
with all of us.
Yeah.
And if you don't listen to it, you will suffer. And that's why I think there's such calamity on this planet right now, because the force seems to be accelerating somehow, some way, in its power, in wanting us to listen to it. So it's just like it's exponentially building up. And some people are getting the message,
Mhm.
others haven't yet. That's okay. It's all in due time. It's all in divine timing. But I do believe it's this force that's within all of us.
Yeah. And it's interconnected too. It's like my journey is connected to yours, is connected to the next person. So it's like
Yeah.
all within like exact perfection, and it's like this dance, and I can't heal unless the next person does, and it's like this
Mm,
domino effect. But I don't know. I don't know if you feel it, but I really do feel like there's a lifting in the energy that's been happening, and like so many of us are able to actually step into this journey in a more like expansive way. It's no longer something that I feel like that's happening underneath the surface. It's becoming more like out there and more very
yeah.
slowly. I think it's becoming like the foundation.
Oh, yeah. Slowly but surely.
Yeah.
And really, in the scheme of things, it's not that slow.
No. No, sometimes I feel like it's so fast that my body can't even keep up. So it's definitely a very intense thing. But
Yeah. I mean, just the simple fact that we're doing this, you have your channel, I got my channel, we got our communities,
yeah.
is proof enough that there's something going on.
There is. And it's interesting, even in healthcare, like more and more patients are I think part of the reason why healthcare will change will also be like not by force almost, because patients are demanding different forms of care, rightfully so. Like even patients are like, no, there's something more. Like there has to be more than this. There has to be more than just, you know, here's your problem, here's a pill, bye. There has to be something deeper than this. And people know that. I just think that a lot of people don't have the like map of consciousness to be able to
Mhm.
navigate that. But that's that's why we need to build new structures to help people navigate that. But it's interesting because people themselves are demanding something else, so I think ultimately the system will have to change.
Oh, yeah. Again, I think we're all demanding something else.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is we all want to be connected to something greater than ourselves, I think. Just don't know where to look,
Hmm.
right? That connection is built through, our TikTok feeds and
Yeah.
just mindless chatter that you can get sucked into. Um, until one finds the spiritual path, the lineages of the ancient world, then it's just random pretty much. You just kind of throwing darts at a dartboard with your
Hmm.
eyes closed. You're just hoping for the best. So that's why I really cherish being able to do this, speak to people like you, and cherish the times that we live in. The fact that we have this, we have the Dharma at
Hmm.
our disposal is a miracle to me,
Yeah.
because it saved my life.
Yeah.
You can probably speak the same way too, right?
No, it's literally, it has saved my life, and I always think about that. I'm like, if I was born in some other time and I was going through this, I'm not even sure like how I would have made it through. Because it's an intense time to live in, but it's amazing that we can communicate with each other. And that's where I think like social media does have a lot of downsides, but I think we can use it in a positive way, which is to
Yeah.
create these new communities and these new conversations. So it's an
Hmm.
exciting time to be alive.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about how we use it and to not let it use us.
Hmm.
That's what I say.
Yeah, I like that.
And it's very easy for it to use us. That's for sure.
Yep. Yeah.
With great power comes great responsibility, a wise man once said.
Yes, 100%. And it kind of just goes back to like, we've just learned to externalize our power so much that I think it's crazy. It's crazy from this position, like having gone through the journey, to think that the power lies anywhere outside of yourself. But I think that sort of victim mindset is the core of all of this. Like we believe that there's some force external to us that's controlling us, and that theme follows us through everything, like whether it's social media controlling us or addictions, other people, like literally
Yep.
anything. And it's such a simple realization, but it's so hard to like embody that fully.
Yeah. It's a good point. That's the big 180 switch, right?
Mhm.
Is we go from the victim to the God empowerment,
Mhm.
right? We go from woe is me to carpe diem.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's huge. And yeah, the powers that be definitely don't want you to know about that. That's for sure.
No, no, that would crumble everything. But I guess it's
Yeah,
already happening,
exactly.
so
And that's the thing too. I think for all of us, there's a sense of forgiveness that needs to come along the way because we've been born into this world of
mhm,
looking outside ourselves for a savior. We've been born into a world of control,
mhm,
and I think we have to recognize that first of all and forgive. I think there's a sense of forgiveness that needs to come along the way because it's not easy. And it still happens too, even when one gets the Kundalini awakening or gets the wake up call per se. It never ends, really.
no.
It never ends, especially with our phones, with technology.
Mhm,
The control is always trying to seep in. The temptations are always trying to seep in. Um, so yeah, I guess it's like along the way, it's okay to mess up. It's okay that you have messed up, but on the other side of the coin also is the empowerment as well that comes from recognizing, comes from that humility, right? So yeah, just want to throw that out there. It's like equally empowered, but also recognize that we're faulty a little bit too. We were born into a faulty world.
mhm. Yeah, and I think that's kind of like the goal too, is to coexist, like to realize that, your darkness can coexist with your inner light, and not really this goal of running away from the darkness because it's never going to go anywhere. Like it's not going to disappear completely. And it serves a purpose too. Like the darkness, I think it is the light. It's just light that has forgotten that it's light. And so
Mm,
the work that we're here to do is to take that darkness and remind itself that it is the light. Um,
that's good.
yeah, and thanks. And as long as we keep running away from that and thinking that it's something that we have to avoid, as opposed to realizing it's just like it's part of it's just an energy or a part of our psyche, whatever you want to call it, that's been so rejected that it's like constricted and like suffocated off of itself. But nonetheless, if it's part of you, then you also have the ability to revive that. So
Yeah.
I think it's kind of just like it's just like you said, it's like our dharma to take, whatever chunk of karma we chose to take on this life and to transmute it into something. So
Mm,
I think that is the purpose. And that's kind of like the foundation of Buddhism too. Like Buddhism is this concept that life is suffering. Um, because if we didn't manifest into these physical bodies, we would just be like, whoop-de-doo la la in some other astral world. But like we came here because what's different is that they're suffering. Um, and so I like that concept that life is suffering and suffering is grace because it's through the suffering that you can experience like the contrast, which would be grace or bliss or peace or love. You don't feel that as intense when you don't have anything to contrast that with. So I think in a way, suffering is kind of the purpose too.
yeah. That's a huge realization, right? Is to understand that we came here to suffer. That's kind of the point.
Mhm.
And the suffering is what leads us into the love, the peace,
Mhm.
the serenity, all of the nice and beautiful things about life. As you said, we transmutate that. We use the darkness as trajectory to the light. This is like, if life's a game, which I do think it is in some way, this is like very hard difficulty.
Yes.
But when you play a game and you win on very hard difficulty, it feels a lot better than winning on easy mode.
Mhm.
So that's the essence of Earth, I think. It's like we came here to play on very hard. We came here to suffer.
Mhm.
And I know that sounds crazy to somebody that doesn't know any better and that is really going through it. But it's all for some reason, I guess we could say. Some spiritual cliche is it's all for a reason.
Mhm.
And you start to see that everything is for you rather
Mhm.
than happening to you. Woe is me. This is all for you, even the stuff that sucks. And
Mhm.
that's a huge realization.
Yeah. No, it's a massive realization because that's sort of like the ultimate um like level up from the game is to realize that the
Yeah.
suffering was actually like it's human nature when you struggle and you feel pain you think like oh my god this is so bad like this is terrible what is this like cloud that's dawned onto me but the ultimate
Mm,
realization is that oh my god this was inside of me the whole time this is just parts of I like to think of it as when I suffer it's parts of my unconscious or even parts of the collective unconscious like tapping into the pain of society as a whole It's just parts of the unconscious that's making itself conscious. And
Mhm.
the reason that that's happening is so that you can elevate it. But it's really hard to get to that switch. And I think sometimes you honestly just have to suffer until something finally kind of like breaks in your own like ego to have that realization. But it's such a it's a crazy realization once you have it. And then once you do have it, it's like, okay, now I can work with this. And things still
Yeah.
hurt, but it's with less resistance. I really feel like the resistance is what causes like true suffering.
Yeah. It's a different form of suffering, that's the
Mhm.
thing. There's probably a different word for it in Pali or in Sanskrit, but
Yeah,
I don't know it.
I don't know either.
But the resistance, yeah, the resistance to the pain and the suffering that isn't necessarily of our own accord, it makes it even worse. Yeah, it causes this other, layer, really, of suffering,
Mhm.
and that's what we kinda shed when we dawn the spiritual path and we dawn this understanding is, yeah, less resistance, is more equanimous to the comings and goings of
Yeah,
our life.
yeah, totally. I think the resistance is like everything because like it gets so nuanced when you start kind of going really deep into yourself because it's like, is this a fear or is it the fear of the fear? And I think that's a really important nuance to pick up when you're, processing things and alchemizing things, because I really do think that the fear of the fear is actually a greater like proponent of suffering than the root of the fear itself. Because you're so afraid to feel, you are literally sending yourself into like this, neurotic state. But that's the thing is like we're also socialized to be emotionally avoidant. And I always say on my channel, like I think the biggest disease that we're facing is emotional avoidance. Like we've taught
Mm,
ourselves that emotions are actually not like divine or wise or philosophical in nature. They're just things that we kind of have to like push away. Especially if you live in America, it's like very much just like go, 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 work, work, work,
yep.
push everything to the side. So yeah.
So, would you say our emotions are, like, signals or messages for us to work with?
Yeah, 100%. That is what I believe. I think that inside of every emotion, especially the darker ones, if you allow yourself to go deep, which that's a practice too, like you have to develop the skill of building the tolerance to even go that deep into yourself because that is an ego death in and of itself. So it brings up a lot of, fears of losing your identity and versions of yourself and things. But I think every single emotion has like a pearl of wisdom inside of it that can, add to your purpose and add to your kind of like fire of life. But it's a matter of like, are you willing to go that deep? And a lot of times we're not because, it's just what we were taught. We learn to avoid our emotions. And like I said, that resistance is so scary.
Mm,
Um, I think that when you break through that resistance, though, you start to like enter this very, um, I don't even know how to say it, like almost like it's a very flowy state where you can alchemize your emotions. And it's not that your emotions don't hurt anymore, but there's this pattern to it. And there's this like cycle to it of death and rebirth that becomes very, um, it's simultaneously painful, but also like ecstatic. And I think that's a crazy thing for a lot of people to hear if they haven't, learned how to do that. But you can get to a place where your emotional experiences are actually like they're so beautiful and they take you into this depth that literally gives your life meaning. But
mm,
yeah, I think that it takes a lot of consistent practice
mhm.
to change that.
Yeah, you said it. It's a good point to bring up. Meaning. You get meaning from all of this.
Hmm.
That's what the Western mind lacks.
Yeah.
We're living in, conscious or unconscious nihilism,
Yep.
right? That's a pandemic.
Yeah.
So the whole spiritual path and whatever, lineage or practice that one decides to follow, I think brings meaning. And meaning, I mean, what does meaning mean? You know?
Yeah.
That's something to dive into.
Hmm.
It's like purpose, maybe. That's another word. Like you're supposed to be here. It's not all just by accident. It's not all just like by chance that you exist. It's like there's a mission. I feel like there's a mission, there's a duty here to Gary and to Shivani.
Hmm.
Do you feel that?
100%. And it's interesting. I feel like these conversations are starting to be brought up in medicine too. Like that's a whole field in medicine called narrative medicine, which is like the idea that helping people create meaning through their illness and just their
Mm,
suffering in general actually helps them to heal. Like the healing process, part of the healing process is finding meaning in the suffering. And I totally agree because I think that that's kind of, in a way, I think that's kind of the whole purpose of suffering. I think all suffering serves the purpose of surrender in one
Mm,
way or another. And with that suffering comes some sort of identity loss, and learning how to create a story from that identity loss is something that can like push you forward in your life and kind of turn your life into like a living myth in a way, like in a living
yeah.
into a living story. And that gives you purpose because I think it's really hard to exist, especially in this world, when you don't have something bigger than you pushing you through. Like if you're just living for yourself, there's going to be
Mm,
a point where that doesn't work anymore. So it's a question of how do I use this to create a story that is like a myth, and others can relate to it, and it connects other people to their journey, and maybe they resonate with it and they're able to create a story of their life and find meaning. So I think, and that's why I like psychiatry so much too, because it's just like the art of storytelling as a form of healing.
that's interesting. I never heard it put that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, I think you can use symbols, myths, legends, fairy tales, and I think the root of like what I feel like I'm here to do is bring the art back into medicine, the art in the humanities, because that is healing. And I feel like medicine right now is so sterile to the point where like who walks into the doctor and is like, wow, this feels like a healing sacred space? Nobody does. Even I don't even feel that way. So I mean, I think that's the thing that we're missing, you know?
Mm. Yeah, less mechanical.
Yeah.
Mm. And the thing is too, right? We're all telling ourselves some kind of story,
Mhm.
no matter what, whether you're aware of it or not. So I think the alchemization process is becoming the writer of the story
Mhm.
and writing your own myth.
Yeah.
And that's what you're trying to do is write better myths for
Right.
people and yourself.
Yes, I like, yeah, I like that you said that though, because it is important. Like a lot of times we get stuck in the story. So it's like, what's the story that you're telling yourself?
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of, subconscious, unconscious stories that we're repeating. So that's an important distinction to make too, is like, let's erase the old ones that are not working for us, and let's actually tap into our own like inner artist, in our inner creative,
Mm,
and find what aligns with us. Because like you were saying, like everything is meaningless. Like none of this really has any meaning. But at the same time, like the ultimate paradox is that our souls came here with some sort of a design of what we were supposed to do and experience. Um, like a video game. Like the video game has no meaning in the grand scheme of things. Who cares? But for the tiny purpose of experiencing the game, it's fun to be part of that character doing something. So it's, I think, really learning how to balance those two things, like not getting stuck in the stories, but realizing that it's just a story, it's just a game. Let's have fun. Let's be
exactly.
creative. Let's find meaning.
Mhm. Yeah, it's the simultaneousness. It's a dance.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a dance between, yeah, as you said, meaninglessness and meaning.
Hmm.
Yeah, that might seem like a contradiction, but that is the truth. I feel that. It's like you create your own meaning. That's the thing.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Well, let's dive down that inquiry. Do we create our own meaning or do we uncover meaning? It's
I,
already there.
yeah, I feel that we uncover the meaning. Um,
Yeah. I think so too.
yeah. Like for me, in my experience, I come to the realization that the meaning just unfolds through you in its own time, in its own way. And you are just here to serve as like a vessel to allow that to flow through you. And you can think that you're creating it because you're like, oh, I'm the human being, like I'm doing this action. So sometimes we think that we are creating it, but really it's just something that's expressing itself through you. So I guess it's both.
Mhm. You know what I wanna ask, right?
No.
What's the meaning of life?
Oh, well, that's like the ultimate question. Who
Yes.
knows? Oh my God. That,
That one's almost too cliche. Can't
yeah.
ask that.
No, you can't.
I think it's, we're figuring it out as we go.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
I think the meaning of life is, I have no idea. I mean, I've grappled with that question so many times to the point where I'm just like, I don't even know anymore. Is there a meaning? I mean, I don't think there is a meaning, but at the same time there is. But I think you're right. I think I just kind of tell myself it's the storytelling and the art of it all.
Mhm. Exactly. In art, think about art. There's really no meaning to why people create art. It's just
Mhm.
because. I mean, sometimes people do it to get paid and it's their job. I get that. But for the most part, if you're an artist, you're just like, yeah, I'm just going to create.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
but that's like that's the state that you have to be in to create art.
Mm,
Like you have to be in a non-resistant state, and you have to be in the state of like, I am completely detached from any kind of expectation or
yeah.
manifestation of this. So like in a weird way, you almost have to like completely detach yourself from like what is the purpose of this, and just like send your art into the world and let it do what it has to do.
Yeah, exactly. And then thus the question of what is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of life? What are we all doing here? Doesn't mean anything.
No.
At
Yeah.
that point, it's just kind of irrelevant.
Mhm. Yeah, but I do think creativity is a huge piece of healing, like in general, physical health,
Mm,
mental health, emotional health. Like, I do feel that the point of why we go through these transformations is to ultimately get to a state of like um, the creator consciousness, and figure out what we're putting out into the world, even if it's just a vibe. Like, even that's also a creative process too.
put out a vibe.
Yeah, just putting out a vibe.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're all here to create something that's never been created before at a collective level, but also at an individual level. So you can only create something that you were put here to create,
Hmm.
and I can only create something that I was put here to create. And that's never been done before, and it never will. I mean, maybe people will build upon my creation, like I build upon other people's creations of the past, but nobody's ever done what we're doing right now, what I'm
Hmm.
doing right now. So I think that's not just for us, that's for everybody.
Hmm.
Literally everybody was put here for a reason. And I know that sounds corny. It's another cliche, but
Hmm.
I think all of us have this individual dharma to create something, to create
Hmm.
this new artwork, this new part of the tapestry, this new part of the mandala. And only you could do it.
Hmm. Yeah,
And we're all
and
figuring it out as we go.
we are. There's no perfect way in doing it. And I also think there's like a when you create something, there's people who need to receive it. Like, they came into this life needing to hear your voice in the exact way that you give it and share it,
Yeah.
or your art in general. But it's like so opposite to what we're taught. Like, we're taught that, even you just think about like the schooling system and what you learn when you go through the schooling system. It's like you constantly take tests, but like there's only one right answer. There's no discussion, there's no like discussing like opposing views and coming to some
Mm,
sort of acceptance of both. It's like this hyper linear way of thinking that I think we've just like completely stripped ourselves of that gift. So it's funny, I just feel like in the times that we're living in, like the most simple acts are like acts of revolution. And I think to be a creative in this time is like a super revolutionary thing to do, because you're choosing to just like transcend all timelines and just be like, nope, I'm putting out what I came here to put out.
yeah. Truly. You become a revolutionary.
Yeah.
Hmm. And there's been many in the past, many martyrs of the revolution, but it's different times now because we all have a voice. We all have the ability to reach thousands, millions of
Hmm.
people from our living room.
Yeah.
you know, and that's why the revolution is. I think this is like the final stage of the revolution. All of us are gonna start to fight the fight
Hmm.
because there's no way that it can be stopped at this point. But yeah, a revolution, that's a good word. That's
Hmm.
really what's happening. It's a revolution of consciousness.
Yeah, that's what I always like to call it, like a consciousness revolution.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think it's happening in every single way, like in every system. We're watching it happen in front of our eyes, which for people who've kind of gone through the process within themselves, it's kind of like an exciting thing in a way. Like, obviously, it's very unfortunate that there's lots of people suffering in the certain conditions that we have, but we know that there's a higher function to this that's creating some sort of a society or a world that's a lot more aligned. Um, but I think I personally think that we're at a point where like most of us are going to have to accept the truth of what's been going on in the world. Like, there's not going to be people. I know there's a concept of like people say like the new earth and the old earth, and there's going to be people that like just disappear into the old earth and
Mhm.
there's going to be a new earth. Like I don't think it's all of that. I honestly think we're at a point now where it's like so many of us are just going to be accepting a completely new truth. So it's exciting, but it's also terrifying. And I feel like having these conversations and putting out your art is how you help people guide themselves through that process.
Mhm. And the beauty of it too, right, is nobody can take it from you. Nobody can do it for you. The
Mhm.
power is in your hands. Now, yes, that might be scary, that might be daunting, but that's actually the good news. So if you're looking for a savior, which many people are, they're looking for somebody to save them, whether it's, Jesus, their parents, their significant other, the government, whatever.
Mhm.
That might be scary, 100%. But that's actually the good news is that you save yourself. Nobody can do it for you. You are the revolutionary. You're it. You're
Mhm.
the one that fights the battle. And yeah, so it's a double-edged sword in that regard, how the revolution is fought, but there's no other way.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no other way. We just have to keep going. And I feel like most of us don't I don't know what I'm doing for sure. I'm just kind of going with what's happening. And but that's kind of what I was saying in the beginning. I think that's the whole point is to learn how to exist in the unknown and develop a relationship with the unknown. Because that's where life happens. Like, it's funny, like, we think that what we can know is like, that's the path to ultimate, that's how I'm gonna become my best version of myself if I can just know everything and understand everything. But that's like one drop in the ocean of like what is possible. But we focus so much on that like 0.0001% that we lose ourselves. Then the world kind of like rewards us for also, I know in medicine, like something that I feel like a lot of us struggle with is like you go through this like rigorous training process that constantly rewards you for how much information you can regurgitate and how much you can know. And
Mm,
you don't really get rewarded for like the presence that you bring. You don't get rewarded for maybe the emotional intelligence or for choosing not to just, it's a high stress environment. So lots of people are constantly just like projecting stuff on each other. And it can get very almost like high school like, but you don't get rewarded for that. Like, you don't get rewarded for emotional intelligence, you don't get rewarded for your presence, you don't get
for
rewarded.
vibes.
No, you don't get rewarded for creating a vibe at all. So it's like you have to unlearn that a lot too. And medical school, I feel like really magnifies that state of mind where it's like, I have to know. And like, the more I know, the better I am. But I think like within medicine, that's kind of like the revolutionary thing to do is like let go of the knowing and just trust where you're going. And it's funny, it's like then once you transition into that type of a mindset, you can't go back because you're like, what the heck? Like that was just so much anxiety, so much fear, and constant living in fight or flight without realizing it. Um, but yeah, the process to getting there is really challenging. You have to just like surrender yourself fully to this unknown force of life, which is really scary. But there's ways to, there's so many like philosophies and roads to follow. So there's people that have gone before us. Lots and lots of people have gone before us that can, serve as like guides.
Hmm. Yeah, I always pay homage to the sages of the past.
Yeah. Yeah, oh my god, especially back then, like, they really put in the work for us.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, back then, their life was at stake. Um, they might have had like nobody
Mhm.
to relate to. Yeah, it had to be so lonely, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I think they probably saw through that.
Yeah, I think in a way it's well, there's probably some pros to that too. It's like, they were able to just kind of do their own thing without having so many eyes on you all the time, like in the world right now.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
it's true.
there's pros and cons, I feel like, but I mean, for sure, like, they really withstood a lot. I don't think I would have made it back then.
Me either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's a good point that you brought up about how there's no reward to this wavelength and living on this wavelength, the
Mhm.
embodiment, right? Bringing this a little bit of light into the world, we could say. So why do we do it then, right? If there's no incentive that we described, at least no physical incentive, no material incentive,
Mhm.
do you feel as though there's like some kind of incentive in yourself?
Mhm. Yeah, that's a really good point because I agree there is no reward. And honestly, I think the like as you go on the path, it kind of gets harder in a sense. As you see more and more, there's just like a depth and like a an intensity that becomes really it creates more and more distance from you and like the rest of the world, which I think can be hard to kind of like integrate yourself into the world when you feel such a distance and lack of like relation. But I do think the reward in it is just a feeling of purpose. I guess it comes back to that whole I feel like everything comes back to that conversation, but
Yeah,
um
it always comes down to purpose.
yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
just a purpose thing. It's like, if none of this matters and if I'm only here for X amount of time and if I don't know what I'm doing and why I'm doing anyways, might as well
yeah,
do something different. Might as well like individuate myself into who, I feel like I'm here to be. So it's like that's sort of the big realization that got me through like the harder intense times of my like awakening journey was if none of this makes sense anyways, if I don't understand this anyways, then might as well just like do what I feel like I want to do in the moment. And I think that itself gives you purpose, that feeling of freedom.
mhm. Yeah, it's like, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing is bringing in the vibes is actually, um it makes your experience better too,
Mhm.
right? And you don't do it for that reason, that's the thing. If you do it for that reason, if you do it for any reward, then it's kind of
Mhm.
counterintuitive, so it's, yeah, it's a subtle thing. It's a subtle way to dance through life, right? To live on the embodiment of, I mean, everything that we just spoke of in the last 50 minutes, to bring that into the world, it's just like, as you said, why not? And it's a win-win. It makes your life better and it makes the other person's life better because when it comes down to it, they're not really the other person. They're connected to you.
Mhm.
So everything that you're embodying, all the energy that you're bringing into the situation, um, they're feeling it too. And it goes back and forth. They reflect your energy and you reflect their energy. And it's this, it's a symbiotic dance we all have with each other. I think that's what comes with the realization is understanding is that, um, I'm not separated from any of these people.
Mhm.
So if I don't bring good energy, if I don't bring the vibes, then the vibes aren't going to be brought to me.
Mhm.
It's that simple.
Yeah, it's that simple. It's all about the vibes.
It's all about the vibes.
Yeah.
That might have to be the title of the podcast. It's all about the vibes.
No, but I love that point because I really feel like the process of bringing, whatever it is you feel like you're here to bring, just like you said, we're all craving that interconnectedness. Like I think all of us at some point in our lives, we think to ourselves, like there's something more, there's something that feels like it's missing. And I feel that that missing component is that feeling of like unity consciousness and that,
Yep.
there's something much bigger than me and that I am interconnected with every single thing here and there is no separation. But I love the point that you made because I feel like that process of bringing in your art into the world, it connects you more and more with other people, and you start to realize like how your paths kind of converge and how people were like destined to receive your gifts in the same way that they were destined to give you their gifts.
Mhm.
And full like if you fully let yourself go into that process, it's like life becomes so like colorful and
Mhm.
lively, but you really have to, and it builds that interconnectedness and you start to see it not only between people but you see it with everything, in like in all the little things that you do. But I think it's really hard to maintain that. Like you can't maintain that all the time. It's really hard. I feel like we all try to. That's like the end goal. You want to just
Yeah.
feel that all the time, but um I think, it's something that kind of just happens in pockets, so we kind of have to be okay with that too along the way.
Mhm. Yep. Exactly. It's a dance. Work in progress over here.
Yeah.
Mhm. But yeah, if there is an end goal, that probably is the end goal, that
Mhm.
probably has to do with enlightenment, is seeing the interconnectedness 24/7.
Yep.
And at that point, you actually lose yourself.
Yeah.
And that's why there's the struggle because it's like a premature death.
Mhm.
If I always knew that I was 100% connected at all times, I don't know. I don't think that's the point actually. But the ego is like, no, 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 don't do that. Don't do that yet. It's a
Mhm.
little scary.
Yeah. That's a good point though, because I really agree with the idea that I don't think that the purpose is to dissolve your ego completely. Um, like the ego is part of it, it gets a bad rap. Okay, it does a lot of things that causes us to suffer, but there's a purpose in it. It helps us to, like, your ego is kind of, it's like the iceberg theory. Like you have the, iceberg that's like above water, and the part that's above the water is your conscious mind. The part that's under is your unconscious mind, which is like 70%, or something. I don't know, I just made that number up, but it's like a really big
Mhm.
percent. And then
Mhm.
where the water kind of meets the iceberg, that water would be like your ego defense mechanism. And so your ego is designed to protect you in the sense that it keeps your unconscious in the unconscious, which is helpful because like you don't want to walk around constantly being triggered or like pulling, memories from like your past life or something like that. Like you don't
Yeah.
want to be constant. It's not beneficial to your human experience.
Yeah.
And you need an
And
ego.
reading everybody's mind
Yeah,
and
no, I
stuff,
don't
you
I
know?
don't want to do that.
Yeah, right?
So like you
There's
need an
purpose to the
ego.
separation, right, is what you're saying?
Yes, there's purpose to the separation, that like we're here to be human. And so in order to be human and for me to experience like, to experience other people, to experience like the soft textures of this bed, if in order to experience that, I have to feel in some way that I'm separate. That's how you experience the contrast. So I don't believe that we are supposed to just like be in this war with the ego and destroy the ego completely for the rest of our lives. I think that there's like a healthy balance. But figuring out what that balance is like is always a question.
Always a question.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the path, really.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's bringing that essence of understanding of interconnectedness into the game of the ego.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's tricky, but that is the path, I think, for all of us.
Hmm. You know what? I think we figured it out. I think we're good. That
That's
was
it.
it.
That's it, everybody.
We're good. We figured
Seriously,
out.
though. Yep, and on we go. We dance that dance as we live our life and do our little things here. As
Mhm.
we take that essence of the supreme and bring it into the futility and humility of the human condition.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's where service comes into play.
Yep.
Because that service is how you kind of connect back to that interconnectedness. And it's really, it doesn't have to be in these like huge, gigantic, like romanticized ways. It's just in like the small things and the conversations that you have. But centering your life around service is what really fosters that interconnectedness. But
Yeah.
it is hard. It's hard, but at the same time, it's like it's all just a silly joke. So it's like, whatever.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. I feel that too. The path of bhakti is the only way to
Mhm.
devote oneself to something greater than yourself.
Yeah.
That's how you dance the dance of, and you don't get sucked into the ego games. Is like
Mhm.
you turn the ego on itself to serve something.
Yes.
So then, yeah, that's how you kind of dissolve into the greater essence is by serving the greater essence.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, because when you center something in your life that's bigger than you, it's like in the shadow of that, everything becomes so small and minuscule.
Mm,
But I think that's part of the issue is like so many of us have been so cut off from that essence that we don't even realize that there's something so much bigger. So then we take these very small triggers or experiences and that almost becomes like the god of our life. Like that becomes the thing that we worship because we're so unaware of the fact that there's like something way bigger than that. So I don't know. I guess the question is like, why do some people get to experience that, that switch or that like feeling of like bliss or interconnectedness? Because that's, I feel like, what starts the journey for so many people. They experience that and they're like, oh my gosh, what is this? I need to figure out, this is like the answer to all of my questions in my entire life. But
hmm
why some people experience that and others are not able to reach that, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's beyond our understanding.
Yeah,
We're not
for
supposed
sure.
to understand that.
No, we're not.
That's part of the greater essence, the greater plan that we are in. Is some people get it, some people don't.
Mhm.
I think we all will get it per se in the end, in time. But yeah, like why are we on this wavelength and others not? I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint. I ask that to some people sometimes, and
Mhm.
That's kind of the general answer that people give me. It's like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have gotten the answer from one person. They said, well, it's obvious. It's because in past lifetimes you did work to be able to see this way.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, okay. I guess if you put into the context of reincarnation and karma and things of
Mhm.
that nature, then yeah, I guess that makes a lot of sense. But if we just take into account this life, uh, it's a mystery.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, like, the answer that I came up for myself too, is like, maybe I just, like, did enough work in my past life, like, I don't know. I was like, "Why am I experiencing
Hmm.
all of this?" But it's hard to figure it out, but I think what, a lot of us struggle with on this path is, like, okay, you wake up, you have all these realizations, you've connected to yourself, you've figured out a truth that many haven't tapped into, and now you're struggling because nobody else can understand it, at least in your immediate environment. Like, it takes time to find that community, but there's that feeling of being misunderstood because you're like, nobody else seems to be able to see this. And it brings up those questions of like, why am I burdened with this, like, ability to see, or this path, if like nobody can receive it? Like, we all want gifts, but what's the point of having a gift if people can't receive it? Um,
Mm,
and I think part of that journey and feeling of like isolation or just being misunderstood on this path is really just like surrendering that. Um, Nobody needs to know you. Nobody needs to understand you. It's okay if people have a different path. You let them have their, journey, and I'll have my journey. And I just have to trust that, like, back to the vibes. Like, I just have to trust that the vibes that I'm emitting are, creating a ripple effect in the world. Even if it's not in this like big, expansive way of me like getting on a stage and telling everybody like this is what I believe in.
hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Very well said. The vibes don't lie.
They don't. They never do.
That's what I like to say. And that's a good point, right? We all create our own artwork, and it doesn't have to be grandiose. That's another thing I always like to emphasize is you don't have to be crazy like me and
Mhm.
have a podcast or write a book or do anything really in terms of like spreading the good word. You don't have to
Mhm.
evangelize it at all. It comes down to the little things, the little interactions we have with people. You ever have like a interaction with a stranger and they're just such a good person. They just,
Mhm.
they got a good smile. They got good energy that it affects you for the whole day or the
Yeah.
whole week or the whole month or maybe your whole life,
Mhm.
right? And it was just like a 5-minute conversation, right?
Yeah.
That's how we
Yeah.
change the world.
No, that's how the world changes, and it's crazy because it's like it stays with you for so long, and you think about that energy, and it gives you like, when you feel that vibe from somebody else, it gives you the ability to touch that energy within yourself. And
Yep.
then you like, it's almost like they're serving as like a mirror to you, and they mirror to
Yeah.
you a frequency that you can then connect with within yourself, and that's the ripple effect, and that's like literally how you change the world. But
Hmm.
yeah, it doesn't have to be in big ways. It's like the tiny, tiny things.
Yep. That little way can be a butterfly effect
Mhm.
to change the world.
Yeah,
Hmm.
for sure.
That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of community, and that's the beauty of touching base with people like you, Shivani. Is yeah, I feel invigorated with the energy. There's like contagiousness to it, right?
Yeah, I love
And
it.
yeah, right. It's beautiful. It's like you pass it to me, I pass it to you,
Mhm.
and we pass it to other people, and then those other people pass it to other people, and kumbaya.
Yeah, literally. No, I think we're gonna build a lot of communities that look very different than the way that they have in the past,
Hmm.
as we start to all kind of like integrate these, ideals and like energies into our bodies. It's like ultimately that's where the healing happens, and centering ourselves around community, because that's a huge thing that we've lost, I think, in our society, is like the healing effect of community. And even when we do have communities, like if you psychoanalyze them, there's just so much of this like fear, hierarchy, dominance, power dynamics. It's not this community of like a circle, it's a community of like a pyramid.
Yeah,
So I think we really need to like, kumbaya. We need to pass that around, and we need to, create that circle and just lift each other up. But I think it's happening. So I'm excited.
it's definitely happening.
Yeah.
It's happening literally as we speak.
Yep. It's happening right now.
Yep. Well, honestly, I think that's a good note to wrap this up at.
Hmm.
I thank you for joining my community and creating your own community because, yeah, I think you have a bright future and you have a lot of people that will resonate with you. I do, at least.
Thank you.
So thank you for bringing your energy and your vibes to my show today. I don't have anything else to say,
Okay.
but yeah, do you have anything else that you want to say and get off your chest?
Not really. I just want to say thank you for having me. Thanks for reaching out. I had so much fun and I'm really excited to keep seeing how our communities grow and affect, people down the line. But I guess if anybody has made it this far, I would say if there's one thing that you take away from this, I hope that it would be, how can I listen to my own intuition more? How can I connect to my intuition within my body? And I guess what can I do today and tomorrow to practice using that muscle of coming back into myself? Because that is the greatest war that you'll ever fight, but it's also like the greatest, most revolutionary thing that you could do for this world right now. So, yeah.
Awesome. Amen to that.
Yeah,
Yep. Go within. We're all fighting the war. That's the thing.
we are. We are.
Yeah. That's the Bhagavad Gita right there.
Oh, yep. Love that book.
It's the book of books.
Yeah.
Well, Shivani, thank you again. I wish you all the best. Keep up the awesome work.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
For sure. Peace and love, everybody.
Bye.